Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have for review the Fantech Helios Go XD5, a mouse that definitely takes elements from the Pro IntelliMouse 3.0 from Microsoft, a mouse that used to be used by many of the pros back in the days of CS 1.3 to 1.6. But let's see how this new version in a smaller form factor measures up. The Helios Go XD5 utilizes KL 8.0s in the main switches, and they feel like KL 8.0s in the side switches as well, and it's probably some of the best implementation of KL 8.0s that I have felt. The switches feel very, very snappy, very responsive, and something that I would expect from the build quality of larger companies like Razer or Logitech. They feel very, very good. The scroll wheel feels great. The DPI button feels good. No issue whatsoever with the switches in the mouse. Very snappy, very responsive. As far as the buttons on the bottom of the mouse, I have no issue with the functionality of the on-off button or the LED switch. You can see that the bottom of the mouse utilizes this same little enclosure of whatever was on the Pro IntelliMouse 3.0. I would have rather of them utilize that space for a sensor ring. I don't think that you necessarily needed to copy the IntelliMouse 3.0 down to those very minute details. The skates are probably the thing I like least about the mouse. They are very, very scratchy and just don't feel good in game. But IntelliMouse 3.0 third-party skates have been around for forever, so something that definitely is very easily upgradable. I think that the texture of the top shell is great. It does feel very textured in-game. I think it is something that doesn't really accumulate a whole lot of moisture if you're living in a humid environment or if your hands just naturally sweat a lot. I think you should be okay. But the side portion near Mouse 4 and Mouse 5 isn't quite as textured and grippy, so you might feel a little bit of moisture accumulation on the bottom of Mouse 4 and Mouse 5. But again, as far as the overall build quality, as far as side flex, I have virtually none. And as far as pre and post travel, there's a little bit of pre-travel, but virtually no post travel as a result of the way the mouse is constructed. It is USB-C to charge the mouse. It is a 3370 sensor and a very good utilization of the 3370. My mouse felt absolutely snappy and very, very high quality in game. I want to throw up some gameplay clips here that I got with the Fantech and talk about what I like and didn't like in game. And the gameplay clips are on the WuGi2, a new pad by Tiger Esports, which we'll get into in a bit more detail in a bit. The Fantech texture definitely is something that feels somewhat reminiscent to the SteelSeries Prime Mini, and I think that's very good. It isn't something that felt slippery to me, and I think that is something that kind of helps me have a conscious awareness of where my grip is on the mouse, or if I'm moving on the mouse while I am playing to kind of readjust my grip. For me and my large size hands, I have an issue with the mouse and keeping my fingers from touching my pad or dragging on my pad. My hand strains a little bit to maintain the grip that I am used to. So it is something that I perform very well on, just not something that over time I was very comfortable with. So for me, better options for my hand size are the SteelSeries Prime Mini or Prime and the Model D or Model D wireless. But again, the mouse, as far as its clicks, its overall build quality, the side clicks, how everything felt in game, it really did feel like a high-end product, something that I would expect from Logitech or Razer. Again, sensor performance was phenomenal, and the only issue I would say I had as far as the internals are concerned or the construction is concerned, the weight distribution felt like a little heavier towards the back of the mouse. And speaking of weight, my copy is 74 grams. The Fantech does probably the best job of trying to mirror and shift that shape into a smaller shape for probably more accessible people to kind of use and get a grip of. But for me, the comfort of the IntelliMouse 3.0 kind of goes out the window because that was just such a good palm-shaped mouse. The Fantech, for me, kind of becomes something that I have to more so fingertip and or claw to kind of get a actual grip on the mouse. And it is so small for my fingers, my wide hand, that my hand becomes a little bit uncomfortable. So overall, again, a very well-performing mouse. It is something that just feels absolutely solid out of the box. But my comfort level just isn't there for me. So I think a lot of people will enjoy this mouse. I think it literally is a top performing mouse as far as how it feels in game. Again, just the comfort isn't there, so not something that I'm going to personally continue to use. Throughout this review, you guys have been looking at the unreleased pad from Tiger Esports, the WuGi2, and I definitely don't want to leave you guys hanging since I've had you looking at the pad throughout the review. The pad is a polyester surface. It is 4 millimeters thick, and it is a very sturdy pad. This thing isn't like a typical cloth pad. You do have to leave it flat, or you will mess up the base of the pad. And the base of the pad feels extremely, extremely sturdy. This thing is a mixture of leather and rubber, which is very unique. You will not have seen anything like that on the market. And on my particular desk, the pad does move around very easily, but when I am in game moving my mouse, I have no issue with the pad moving. So I really think that the base of the pad and just the density of the pad and just how it feels so high quality and high class that I think a lot of people are going to feel proud to own this pad and have it on their desk. Between the design, the aesthetics, the stitched edging, which is very, very level to the surface, probably the most level to a surface that I have had stitched edging be on a pad. So it's very nice work here from Tiger Esports. And as far as the speed of the pad, this polyester surface, there is a little bit of a differential between X and Y. It did not have an effect on me in game. The initial friction is actually very, very low. And as far as the speed of the pad, I would probably put it in the balanced category. It feels absolutely superb. It doesn't feel too fast. It doesn't feel slow, muddy, or tuggy on your mouse. I played very well with it in game, and it's something that I would feel very comfortable with climbing ranked ladders. A lot of mouse pads that I have reviewed recently have either had too much tug, too much control, or have been too fast. And this pad really strikes a very, very sweet spot. I think it's going to be a sweet spot for a lot of players, for tack shooters as well as flicks, like, games like Quake or Splitgate or Halo. And as far as tracking, the pad was phenomenal. I did not have any issues whatsoever. And the pad, as you can see, using just the SteelSeries Prime Mini Wireless with those default skates, the mouse does come to a very, very nice controlled stop, but initial friction is not an issue whatsoever. With glass skates from Lethal Gaming Gear, the mouse pad actually feels so good. Probably the best pad I've used in combination with glass skates, because that polyester surface still gives you a bit of control even with those glass skates. But just the initial friction and moving my mouse, there's so much manual power and manual movement here. And not only has Tiger Esports upgraded the pad, but the shipping and the boxing as well has definitely received an upgrade. You guys can see that the pad does ship flat as a result of that base. It is going to come in an XL, medium, and large. This pad here is the large, and just the packaging of the pad is just so awesome. I mean, I have not seen a packaging this good. Maybe the XTEN was a similar type packaging, something that was very, very cool. But this just feels good. There's not really much other way to put it. It just feels good. It looks good, and something that I think a lot of you are going to feel when you take this thing out of the box. You're going to do a double take. So that is it, guys, for the review of the Fantech Helios Go XD5. I think it's definitely a mouse that's worth your time and attention, especially for you small to medium-handed users. I think you might actually have main potential in this mouse. It feels very good. The build quality is great, and the sensor performs very, very well. I think that for large-handed users, depending on your grip, the mouse could certainly work for you. And again, I performed very well with the mouse. I just had an issue with comfort, and all of us are very different in that regard. So it could be a top potential wireless mouse for you. It felt very good. Again, build quality is great. So no issues, and definitely something that I can recommend. As far as the WuGi2, we'll definitely get into more details about this mousepad in another video, comparing it to other pads. But the base of the pad is definitely the most unique thing on a mousepad that I have received to date. I think the pad just feels high class. It feels high quality. The polyester surface performed very well for me in game, and I think it's going to be a pad that has great build quality over time. I don't think that a lot of us are going to have an issue with fraying. I think the stitched edging is very, very good. And just look at the design of the pad. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, and Tiger Esports is always giving us an aesthetically pleasing mouse pad while performing qualities of the surface to continue to play at a competitive level. I think that's very unique on the market and something that I really enjoy. So 2 products that are definitely worth your time, 2 products that I certainly recommend. I hope that helped. If it did, please leave a subscription to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.